الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطاهرين ما خاب من تمسك بكم أمن من لجأ إلى حصنكم سادتي يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Enlighten your majalis and bless this gathering with 3 loud salawats ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Extremely important subject, many times translated to piety. But what does piety even mean? I mean, sometimes we can always translate key words to the English language, but sometimes we don't even know the meaning of that word in the English language itself. I mean, surely taqwa is piety, but what does piety mean? Taqwa, one of the most important aspects in the Quran, something that Allah Azza wa Jal constantly talks about. In fact, not does He only talk about taqwa, but He also refers it back to Himself, that you perform taqwa haqqa tuqatihi, meaning He here is referring taqwa back to Himself. This is one aspect. Another aspect is that the Quran would say that there is no difference amongst all of you, in the meaning I'm talking. There is no difference amongst all of you except for one thing. One thing differs one person from another, and that is taqwa. Therefore, what is this taqwa? What is this thing that Allah Azza wa Jal made the problem solver in the Quran? What is this thing that He said, whoever has taqwa, Allah will make an opening for them? What is these things that Allah Azza wa Jal is trying to push forward for? And why is it that taqwa is always linked to jihad al-nafs? What does taqwa have anything to do with that self-accountability, that the war, that the inner war between the intellect and between the desire? Where does taqwa play a role in that? And therefore today, inshallah, what we will aim to do, we have finished from our historical topics on the life of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salatu wassalam. Today our topic will be on piety or taqwa and jihad al-nafs, the self-struggle that a human being goes through, inshallah. And we will aim to go through this in the following steps, where we first will define what taqwa is. We will understand taqwa's usage in the Quran, and how can we find a life example of how taqwa was the main aid and how it directly links to the idea of jihad al-nafs and self-struggle, inshallah. And we shall do that with your permission and with the blessings of 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Taqwa comes from the word wiqaya. Wiqaya means to protect. Meaning, taqwa is a protection. The question comes, a protection from what? Or a protection for what? Taqwa, its reality is that it is a protection for the heart. So that is the forward. What from? From anything that is able to disturb the heart or to cause dirt on the heart. And the reason I use the word dirt is because we have a narration from Imam Al-Baqir alayhi afdalu salati wassalam, where he says that every time a person sins, a black dot appears on their heart. Every time they repeat that sin or performs another sin, another black dot appears on the heart until the heart is in complete blackness. In other words, in complete dirt, where there is no more room for the heart to see anything clearly anymore. And it is exactly this that causes a person to go blind, because it is not the eyes that go blind, rather it is the sight that is within the heart, which is within the chest, as the Quran explains it. So this is one aspect. Whereas when a person performs istighfar and asks for repentance, there is a reverse effect. Allah Azza wa Jal causes a white dot to appear on the heart. In other words, this whiteness is a sign of purity. Purity appears on their heart until it fully cleanses their heart. This specific thing is required through taqwa. You might ask me why. Taqwa, in one aspect, we will translate it to piety. We said, piety, in summary, means God consciousness. God consciousness means that I am aware of Allah Azza wa Jal at all times. Meaning that I know that Allah is present and I do not forget of Allah's presence. Because the reality is, and this is a moment of self-reflection, the reality is that if I am performing a sin, it is one of two reasons. Either because I have forgotten Allah, which is against taqwa, or no, while I am performing a sin, I remember there is Allah Azza wa Jal, but I still do it. And that is worse. And that is worse. Being able to perform a sin while knowing Allah is overwatching, that is extremely dangerous. Which is why in Dua al-Iftitah we've been reciting for the past few days, وَكَأَنَّ لِيَ التَّطَوُّلَ عَلَيْكِ. It's as if I have the ability to basically do these things in a manner where I see myself supreme. كأن لي التطول عليك. But look at the mercy of Allah. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي. والله عجيب. The mercy of Allah, والله العظيم, is عجيب. Even with all of this, this did not stop you from coming closer. He is coming closer to me. He is the one that's giving me mercy. He is the one that is giving me ihsan. He is doing goodness for me. You know, at a time when, for example, a person mistreats you, or talks to you in the wrong manner, or even gives you a bad look, this person, I don't want to talk to him anymore. I'll put him to the side. I have nothing to do with this person anymore. Imagine how many times we have given that bad look to Allah Azza wa Jal. With all of that, He's like, no problem, come. You want from my mercies, you want from my bounties, these are my mercies and my bounties. A moment of self-reflection, inshallah. So, Allah Azza wa Jal is constantly giving us this mercy. Why? It is also a way for Him to show His infinite mercy, and it is also a hujjah. What do I mean with it's also a hujjah? It means that on the day of judgment, when I stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, and He tells me, why did you do this? And I say, قَالَ رَبِّ ارْجِعُونَ, take me back. لَعَلِّي أَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا, maybe I will do something good. Allah Azza wa Jal replies, says, كَلَّا إِنَّهَا كَلِمَةٌ هُوَ قَائِلُهَا. Nay, it is just a word that this person is saying. It is not something they will genuinely do. Then you say, how did you know? It's because I constantly sent you reminders. I constantly bestowed you my mercy, but you aren't thankful. You continue to disobey me. So here, there is a hujjah from Allah upon me. Therefore, He is constantly saying, I am still remembering you, so remember me. اذكروني أذكركم. Remember me, and I will remember you. Allah Azza wa Jalla, look at that beautiful relationship that He is trying to build with His slave. And understand, Number one, we are slaves to Allah. We are not servants to Allah. And there's a big difference in that. Once I say I am Allah's servant, a servant usually receives some compensation for what they do for their master. A slave means they are completely owned by their master. We are slaves of Allah. Whether Allah gives us compensation or does not, it doesn't change the fact that I am a slave to Allah Azza wa Jal. I have no understanding of myself without Allah Azza wa Jal. Who am I without Allah Azza wa Jal? And the first step to my identity is that I am a slave of Allah. Nabi Allah Isa, who is a great prophet of Ulul Azm, who is a prophet from the time of his birth, when he comes to introduce himself, قال إني عبد الله, I am a slave of Allah. This was the first thing that he came forward with. Likewise, let me remember, I am a slave of Allah Azza wa Jal. So therefore, I need to constantly remember Allah Azza wa Jal. Because a slave is nothing without their master. I ask you, even at the times of slavery, was the slave able to make any decision without the permission of their master? Take that image and apply it to us. Everything we do needs to be through the permission of Allah Azza wa Jal. Do you know what the beautiful thing is, however? It's not one of those things where I need to go, Allah, can I do this? Oh Allah, can I do this? No. He set it out for me. This is wajib, this is haram. Do this, leave that. Finished. He has given it to me from the forefront. All I need you to do is number one, pray, fast, be good to your parents, be good to your neighbors, do this, do that. Stay away from alcohol, stay away from what is haram, stay away from anything that could affect you negatively, stay away from all of these things. And all I need you to do is remember me at all times. Why do I need you to remember me at all times? So that at a time when you are in a place of conflict, all you need to remember is Allah. اذكروني أذكركم. Finished. That is why Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam has a tafsir of the verse وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ. حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ. The truth of that piety that is reference to Allah Azza wa Jal. What is this amazing extreme of piety? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam replies. He says, أَن يُطَاعْ فَلَا يُعْصَى. For him to be obeyed in such a manner that he is not disobeyed. This is the idea of piety. This is the idea of having God consciousness. That I am constantly obeying Allah Azza wa Jal to the extent where my obedience itself takes me away from sinning. As you're going to ask me, how is that even possible? How is it that through obedience I'm taken away from sin? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna as-salata tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Therefore, obedience takes you away from what? From sin. So through obeying Allah, I am taken away from disobedience. This is the idea of taqwa. This is the true idea of being in a state of God consciousness. I need to be in a state where Allah Azza wa Jal is in front of me in everything. In front of me. I want to come and approach, and by the way, this applies to everything. This applies to everything. Whether it comes to choosing your modules, whether it comes to choosing your work, whether it comes to choosing your changing career, whether it comes to, for example, choosing your spouse, whatever it comes to, put Allah in front of your eyes. You don't have Allah in front of your eyes, everything goes to waste. Everything goes to waste. Allah in front of you. The moment Allah is the center of your formula, you see everything falling into place. And this is the reality of the situation. Why? وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ